New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 102, provides that the New York State Gaming Commission shall consist of 7 members appointed by the governor by and with the advice and consent of the Senate. 5 members having been confirmed by the New York State Senate affords the commission an ability to establish a quorum and undertake action. This present meeting of the commission is now called to order. Ms. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
John Crotty.
Here.
Peter Machete.
Here.
John Paklemba.
Here.
Barry Sample.
Here.
Todd Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Secretary, will you please have the record reflect that a quorum of qualified members are present, thus enabling transaction of business. Given the absence of a designated chair, would the members like to select a member for the purposes of serving as a presiding officer for today's meeting?
I nominate Peter Machete.
Second.
Okay, all unanimous?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for the show of confidence.
Yes, yes. Do a good job.
Minutes of the commission meeting conducted on August 24, 2015 have been provided to the members in advance. At this time, I'd like to ask the members if there are any edits, corrections, or amendments. Hearing none, Madam Secretary, please let the record reflect that the minutes were adopted as circulated. Next up is the report of Mr. Williams, our Executive Director.
I'll try to be quick here. As you're all aware, the Commission conducted 2 forums since our last meeting. Most of you attended or listened to the LASIX forum, which was conducted at the Empire State College in Saratoga Springs. A tremendous amount of information and material was kind of thrust upon you. The video of the day-long event is expected to be posted online shortly, and upon request, I can also arrange for any provided or referenced materials to be delivered to your attention. Just let me know. The retired racehorse event was held on September 1st at the Fasig-Tipton Pavilion in Saratoga. I believe the event was very successful in drawing attention to the issue. One significant thing that came out of the day was that NYRA pledged to donate $5 per start at its tracks to the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. This will match the efforts of the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, which in 2014 began to contribute $5 per start to aftercare. Excepting for American Pharoah, the Travers Day was an extraordinarily successful day. Travers saw a record all-sources handle of over $49 million. An on-track handle that day exceeded $11 million, which was also a record. I would like to recognize that Commissioners Machete and Sample were in attendance. The entire meet, which just recently closed, was a success by any objective standard, with records set for on-track handle and all-sources handle. On-track handle exceeded $157.6 million, which is up from last year, which was $150.3 million. And the all-sources handle was $643 million, which is up from last year's all-sources handle of $571 million. For the first time since its inception in 1990, the annual New York Night of Champions will be conducted on 2 nights. This is a championship night for standardbred horses that are bred in the state of New York. This upcoming Saturday, Yonkers is hosting 4 $225,000 finals for 3-year-olds. In 2 weeks, on September 26th, Yonkers is holding a second night, also with 4 $225,000 finals for 2-year-olds. If anyone is interested in attending, please let me know. Finally, the Gaming Facility Location Board conducted their applicant presentation segment of their request for applications to develop a commercial casino gambling facility in Zone 2, Region 5 this morning over at the Javits Center here in Manhattan. The board will also be conducting a public comment event at Broome Community College in Binghamton on September 18th. Mr. Machete?
So I think it's rulemaking next. Right? We have New York State Racing, Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 104.19 authorizes the Commission to promulgate rules and regulations that it deems necessary to carry out its responsibility. To that regard, the Commission will from time to time promulgate rules and rule amendments pursuant to the State Administrative Procedure Act. And I guess today we have several rulemaking items for consideration. Mr. Williams would outline the proposal.
Certainly. Item 4A regards an amendment to Powerball rules. As you may recollect, on July 6, 2015, the Commission proposed rulemaking to allow for necessary regulatory changes to be effective to prevent operational secession of Powerball. New York participates as a member of the Multi-State Lottery Association, which administers the Powerball lottery game. Muscle has resolved to modify the Powerball game matrix, which sets forth win probabilities and prizes. The proposed rule change is intended to increase the odds of winning any particular prize while increasing odds to win the jackpot prize. This would be accomplished by increasing the size of the first set of numbers from which the player chooses from 59 to 69, while decreasing the size of the second set of numbers from 35 to 26. The percentage amount of the prize pool allocated to each prize level would also change. And finally, the prize amount for the third level prize would increase from $10,000 to $50,000. The new matrix for the Powerball is scheduled for launch on October 4th nationwide for the October 7th drawing. Commission staff reviewed the multi-state game changes and determined that the proposed rules were acceptable. Obviously, without this rule change, the division of the lottery would need to remove the game from its portfolio of offerings. We received one public comment relative to this proposal, but it was non-substantive.
Are there any questions by the commissioners regarding adopting the rule amendment regarding Powerball?
What was the comment?
The comment was basically, I see that you're doing this game. I have another game I'd like to sell you.
Anything else?
My understanding is that this rule change is going to be in each state.
Correct.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
May I have a motion to adopt this Powerball rule amendment?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next three items all regard commercial casino licensing regulations. And given the common subject matter, with your permission, I'd like to generally discuss all of them together. Item 4B regards the commercial gaming rules definition section. This rule, which was proposed by the Commission on July 6th, provides the definitions applicable to the commercial casino gaming rules. The Commission received no public comments relative to this proposal. Item 4C regards the commercial gaming entity licensing section. This rule, which was also proposed on July 6, 2015, addresses gaming facility license application requirements, application forms, application fees, form of license, waiver of license requirements for certain passive investors, suitability determinations, license determination, award and duration of license, post-licensure conditions, and monitoring of project construction. The Commission received no public comments relative to this proposal. Item 4D regards the commercial gaming employee and vendor licensing section. This rule was also proposed by the Commission on July 6th and addresses general provisions, casino key employee licensing, gaming employee and non-gaming employee registration, and vendor licensing and registration. The Commission did receive one public comment relative to this proposal. In general, the comment requested clarification of how the regulations would be implemented. No substantive amendments to the proposal were necessitated by that comment. I do want to add, though, and Ed, maybe you can speak to it, we have had numbers of conversations with the applicants themselves who have certain concerns relative to the proposed rules, but none that rose to a level that they thought necessitated identification and response today. Ed, you want to?
Yeah, we've been engaging with the selected applicants throughout this process to gauge their reaction and input to the various proposals. And there are a number of issues that have been raised with us, not in the formal public comment context, of things we might wish to consider down the line. And as we all know from the Commission's activities, rulemaking is an ongoing process. Even if these rules were adopted today, there's nothing that would prevent us, down the line from reevaluating certain aspects of them and making amendments if you deem them appropriate. So there were a couple of concepts that may be substantive that some of the applicants had some concerns with or might want to suggest improvements on, but their preference would be to engage after the initial rules would be adopted and see if it would be prudent to tweak some rules here and there and in definitions of passive investors and things of that nature. But there are a number of subjects that we're continuing to engage with them, but their preference would be at this point to see the commission adopt the rules that were initially proposed and then continue the conversation for potential amendments down the line.
Why is that easier for them?
Well, this way, you would be clear to act on license applications with a set of rules in place sooner than you would be if you had to reopen the rulemaking process.
With an option
Even
open
with
to have a
the-
discussion in the
right,
future.
yeah. I guess the issues that they raised probably weren't terribly significant,
No, nothing,
Right.
nothing of great concern.
And any changes would have to go through the comment period again, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, so any future tweaks and definitions or tweaks and exceptions or clarifications of certain things would be proposed as an amendment to adopted rules,
Yeah,
and
we
that
go
would
through
open a
standard
public,
rulemaking.
that would open a public comment period and then ultimately be considered.
All set?
Yes, sir.
So for clarity purposes, I'm going to call for consideration and vote on each of the three proposed casino regulations individually. Item 4B, adoption of commercial gaming definitions. First, are there any questions on adopting the commercial gaming definition rules? May I have a motion then to adopt the commercial gaming definition rules?
so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next is item 4C, adoption of commercial gaming facility licensing. Are there any questions on adopting the commercial gaming facility license rules? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt the commercial gaming license rules?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next, item 4D, proposal of commercial gaming employee and vendor licensing. Are there any questions on adopting these commercial gaming employee and vendor licensing rules?
Yeah, moved.
You have a motion, that's the
Motion,
motion?
yes.
Second?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Did I say four?
I think we skipped B.
Did I?
To do A, and I think you did A, C, D, no? Is that B? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did three.
You
B,
move
C,
on.
and D.
On the
Yeah,
card.
yeah, we're good. We're good. Where we need.
So we got
Famous
D too,
Powerball.
right?
Yep.
B, C, and D.
Let's listen to-
I'll go back to you, Rob.
We're now up to item 4E, which regards various minority and women-owned business enterprise rules. These rules, which were also proposed by the Commission on July 6th, establish requirements for and approvals of MWB utilization plans, reporting, failure to attain MWB goals, waiver, establishment and approval of workforce diversity plans, reporting and compliance monitoring, and failure to attain workforce diversity goals. The Commission received no public comments relative to this proposal.
Commissioners, are there any questions on adopting the proposed minority and women-owned business enterprise requirement rules? And, may I have a motion to adopt the minority and women-owned business enterprise requirement rules?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Williams, could you briefly outline the process under which these adoptions become finalized?
Yes, certainly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, but these newly adopted rules don't become effective until the notice of adoption is published in the state register. Given today's adoption, we are most likely to make the next available state register publication, which would be September 30th. When the register is published, then those rules become effective.
Will you please call the next item then, Mr. Williams?
Sure, we're on to adjudications. We have one hearing officer report for consideration today, and that's in the matter of Kevin Irby. On March 25th, 2015, the Bureau of Licensing declined to license Kevin Irby as a peace officer. The denial was based on a conclusion that his experience, character, or general fitness are such that his participation in racing or related activities would be inconsistent with the public interest, convenience, or necessity, or with the best interest of racing generally. Specifically, Mr. Irby disclosed certain criminal history on his license application and made false or inconsistent statements on his license application. After Mr. Irby appealed, a hearing was conducted on July 10, 2015. The hearing officer's report and recommendations were delivered to the Commission Secretary on August 26th. The hearing officer recommended that the license application denial be upheld. At a meeting conducted pursuant to the judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings exemption of the New York Public Officers Law, Section 108.1, the Commission considered this matter.
The Commission duly deliberated and considered this matter and determined upon a vote of 5-0 unanimously to sustain the hearing officer's report and recommendations, which would be a denial of the license. Does anyone have any other new business or any new business to consider? Hearing none, next item on the agenda would be old business. Is there any old business to consider? So we have the scheduling of the next meeting. Scheduled for September 24th. In October, we will return to our practice of meeting on the fourth Monday of the month. Please be advised, Ms. Buckley, of your availability. So that concludes today's published agenda. Do any of the commissioners have any items they'd like to present for consideration?
No.
Just let me say, I want to thank staff for putting together the LASIX forum, which was outstanding. We had panel members from across the nation and internationally. It was informative. I think there's still a lot of issues that we as the commission will probably want to pursue, but I thought the day was excellent, informative. We had some very impressive people come and speak and give us some information. Mm-hmm. And I can say the same for the Racehorse Aftercare Forum. Again, a tremendous panelist. It was very informative. That day went very well. And there are issues, again, I think that the commission will want to pursue. But I thought you did a great job. And those were national and international individuals that came to speak. So it was a great job.
That's good.
Yes,
Rob,
second that.
what do we plan for follow-up on the LASIX and the retired?
Well, on the LASIX issue, it's more of a discussion that should be had internally, whether it be individually by members or we can get together collectively in a public forum to discuss it. But there's a variety of things that have been raised individually with me that some members have concern with the way that LASIX is utilized in New York State.
So that'll come up on a future agenda?
I would assume so. As far as the retired racehorse forum, we are still in the process of undertaking some original research relative to that. Basically involved around trying to examine where New York bred horses have ended up, those who have left within the last couple of years. We're trying to get some actual data relevant to that maybe will give us a better sense of what kind of a problem there is and where these horses end up overall.
And that would be the thoroughbreds and the standardbreds?
We haven't delved into the standard breds yet. We're at this point, the thoroughbred, I think, Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but in horses that last ran within the last 3 years, or prior to 3 years ago,
Right.
but 5 years out, there's like 3,600 New York bred horses that have retired. So it's kind of a colossal undertaking to try to identify where these horses are.
That's a large number.
And Jack Knowlton at our retired racehorse seminar had put together a slideshow that illustrated that a substantial number of these retire out of the state. So we're trying to track down those horses to at least figure out what happened to them.
The aftercare organizations that spoke were talking about the percentage, and it was pretty high of New York horses that they end up with, surprisingly so. And there's some discussion about the utilization of a chip with the horses so that you can follow them, or if there's a means or method to follow them in the future. So all interesting things.
The general sense was until we have the data, good data as to how big the problem is, it's hard to address it from a plenary standpoint.
And that will be coming up on a future agenda also then.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
that research continues.
There was a series of questions. I'm with Peter. I thought the staff did an excellent job putting together the panel. But there was a series of open-ended questions that the various experts were going to come back to us with. And I thought putting those together at some level would be
Okay.
very useful before we sort of set up the next forum. But I don't think it should take a long period of time.
We'll
to-
follow up with
to call
that.
them and put together what sort of
Now that the material is online, we can go through as well and make sure that we identify who had suggested that would be providing us with
Mhm.
responses, and we can keep them
Yeah.
honest in that regard.
I thought you guys put together a phenomenal panel. It was really informative, so it was great work.
Very impressive.
Congratulations to Lee on that one.
Yeah, well,
Nice job.
Well done, Lee.
Good job, Lou.
All right, guys. Then, unless there's anything else, I guess we're adjourned.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.